Good morning, or is it afternoon? Nope, it's still morning. So good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Grinding Iron and Flour. Today we have a surprise, and unlike a lot of videos, I'm just going to show you right off the bat. I was going to film it, but ended up not making an intro, and the guy was kind of, weird, so I didn't really want to film around him too much, not to upset him. But we picked up a 1974 Chevy Nova. So my dad had a car like this when he was in high school, and he's been looking at getting one recently, so he found this one on Facebook Marketplace for relatively inexpensive, and the guy was going to build it into a drag car, and we ended up buying it. But it's still mostly original. All the body work is done for the most part. There's a couple spots back here that just need to be sanded down and finished, and then I think there's some rust back here. There's a spot over there that's rusted through that we need to replace as well, but for the most part, bodywork's done. Has the fiberglass cowl hood, which is pretty cool. That is aftermarket. And then we got a turbo 350 transmission with it. We have some drive shaft, and then all the interior stuff. So sorry about the chickens in the background, but this is the project car that we're working on right now. I've been looking at getting a Ford Highboy, but I just haven't found anything within budget, and that's nice enough. Everything's been pretty destroyed and rusted out and just not good. But once I find one, that'll be a project that we'll be filming as well. So with that car, we bought this one as well, and it was just a joint deal just because this is kind of a donor car. It's a Pontiac, but they have a lot of parts that can transfer over. This one's pretty beat, but I believe the rear taillight assembly, which is rusted out on the other one, we can use. And then we'll be parting this one out if anybody else wants parts. So that'll all be for sale. Oh, the door's not even on. I actually haven't really looked at this car too much, but it is pretty beat. Neither cars have motors. This one doesn't have transmission or anything. All we have is that 350 in there. And I guess the plan is to build a small block 350 for it. Nothing crazy, just something mild. And that's kind of the winter project, since when it gets really cold, it's not a lot of stuff to do outside, so you gotta keep yourself busy somehow. But today I have some gates I need to build for a wedding venue in Livingston. So I'm about to go get some materials for that, and I will be filming that whole process for you guys so you can kind of see how it's done. I went out there to look at some grip rails they had, but they haven't gone back to me about that. I gave them a price for it, but I haven't heard anything. But in the meantime, he sent me some measurements for some gates, so I'm gonna get those knocked out and get them delivered. I don't know if he wants me to install them or not, but we'll figure that out. Gosh, that's so much better than last time. All right, so we got the trailer all hooked up, and we are heading to town to grab some materials for these gates. So the way that I am doing this is I'm taking all my full lengths and I'm cutting them down 45s on each side. The long ones are my sides, the short ones are my tops. And then I'm taking, the easiest way I've found to do it is you always want to grind and clean off your ends, make them look nice. Just makes it easier to weld later. The way I've been doing it, I don't have a fab table yet. I'm gonna pick one up probably next month. But I lay them out on the floor like this. Make sure I'm not overlapping on any of those. Assuming that each of these squares is relatively flat. But I lay them out on an L, take my square, make sure that these are square, and then I'll tack weld the inside. check it again and bend it where it needs to be, and then I'll weld the back side. And the way that I've been taught is if you build two L's that are perfectly square, when you put the two L's together, your whole thing will be square. Obviously, you're going to want to check that, make sure that it is square, because it is possible that if this length or if that length is off by a quarter or off by an eighth, then you're obviously not going to be square. But that's the way that I was taught. If that corner and that corner, which isn't there right now, if those two corners are 90, then the other two corners have to be 90, which makes sense. Once I get a fab table, I can line it up on the corners of the fab table, or I can put bobbins in there to make it 90. But for now, this is what I've got. I finished one already, not completely. I still got to grind down these corners. They like the seamless look, so you can't tell there was a seam there. I just need to clean up my corners. But this one we're making. This one's on its side. It's just a big gate. I'm gonna weld hinges to it on site, make some screw-in plates for it, and then they're gonna be putting wood across it. That's why I did the center support, so they can screw to the centers. But yeah, pretty easy. They ended up texting me and saying, hey, we want a third one. So I had to run back to Pacific and pick up some materials. So just got another 20, another 10, and then some more angle. So we should be good to go. Hopefully I can get all of this stuff done today so I can go install tomorrow, and I can record that for you guys as well so you can see how that goes. Hanging gates by yourself is kind of a pain in the butt. I will say that, but you got to do it sometimes. If you can find a hand to help, that's awesome. If not, you got to do it yourself. And then I got this bucket all welded up as well. Some contractors want them to be seamless, some don't care. I don't think this one's going to be showing, so I'm just going to leave it like that. If it was going to be showing, then I would fill these welds all the way out to the edge, and then I would grind it down so it looks like it's bent on all the corners. But basically this is going to get welded to a big, I think it's a 4x4 by 3/16 beam or something, and then they're going to be laying LVL in here. Just because they had some change to their structural plan. So this is just a 3/8 back plate, quarter walls, quarter bottom. Pretty simple bucket. That's going up to the Yellowstone Club, so we'll be installing that at another time, along with some other welding fixes they need. So we're staying pretty busy here in the shop, and I'll get back to you when we get a few more of these built. So now I have both of my L's made. When you're building things on 90 with a 45, you don't want to have a gap like this. So you can see that my gap increases as I go out, which is really bad because that means you're gonna have more length, height, and width wise. These are gates, so they're not going in. Let me rephrase that. They're going in between two posts, but there's not really a height requirement or a width requirement in particular. And my hinges are, you know, I can do my hinges however I want, so the tolerances don't really matter for this, so I'm not worried about it. But if this were something that had to be, you know, spot on and exact, then I would probably have to grind the insides here to get them to be the exact same, because when you're doing outside measurements, you measure your long sides. So that could have been fixed if I had made sure my saw was at a 45, but I don't really care. This doesn't have to be that exact. Other stuff I do is that exact, and I will take the time to make sure it's perfect, but this one's fine. So as you can see now, the unwelded sides, that one's welded and that one's unwelded. So I took basically those two L's, like I said, I made an L there, made an L there. Those are 90, and then I just flipped it around And then I got my corners there, and those should be perfectly 90. If we take our square, let me check. That's pretty close to 90. It's maybe a degree off. But I also haven't played around with it, moving it for in and out and whatnot to get a little better angle. So I'm gonna do that now, make sure that there's nothing underneath it. It's all the same height and they're 90 and it's square. You can check your square by measuring across corner to corner. Got my tape here. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. If we take our corner measurement there, take our corner measurement here, we're at 99.5 plus a 1/16. That's the same as the other one I built. This one right here. How long I got on that corner? These corners aren't welded yet, but you can see we're right there at 99.5 minus a 1/16. So we're out by an 1/8, which isn't a huge deal for this, because again, we're doing, these are just gates. If it were super, if it was necessary for everything to be perfectly square, perfectly straight, perfectly 90, then we would do that. But since it's just a gate and it's just gonna get covered up with wood anyway, whatever. It's not worth wasting my time to get everything perfect. So yeah, now I'm gonna get all this finish welded up, get everything blended, and we'll be good to go. Here's the little trick I use. When I have big pieces like this, and I don't have a magnetic ground, this is just a regular clamp ground, and I can't get it over that. So what I do, I'll take a little piece of scrap, I'll ground my scrap, and I'll just tack weld it straight to my 2x2, and I'll leave it there until I have something I can ground to, like when I put those angle slats in, then I can ground to those. So it doesn't need to be welded good or anything, it just needs to be tacked on there, just so you have something to clamp onto, because you can't get it around that. Alright, so I actually let my OCD get the best of me, and I ended up squaring all the corners on it. Everything is perfectly 90, everything is square, we're good to go. That always happens. I always say, oh, it doesn't matter, and then I end up squaring things anyway. But I got them all corners welded up. They don't need to have any fancy dimes or anything, just because we're grinding it anyway. I got my ends welded up. And then there's that ground setup I was talking about. So now I'm gonna flip it over so I can weld the back side, and then I can start grinding things. All right, so I just got finished up. I was able to fit all the racks in the bed of my truck, so I can put the trailer back. It's nice that I don't need to bring that down. So now I just got to get an oil change done on the truck, which is pretty boring. I'm not going to film that, but if you guys want a video on that or whatever, leave a comment. Good morning. It's Tuesday morning now. We got all those gates finished up yesterday. I am heading out to Living Center now to do the install for those. I ran a few errands this morning, just picking up some hinges for them, some mounting hardware, and then some flat stock to build the mounting plates. So we should be all good to go with material. We are heading out to Livingston. This is always a very beautiful drive. So I'll see you guys out at the job site. All right, so we made it to the job site. It is really pretty out here. But we got some of our stuff unloaded. These are the hinges we're going to use. These are just a 6-inch bullet hinge, weldable. Running onto some 3x8 flat. That's going into the wall. And then these are our frames that we built. There's 2 there, 1 there. The 2 that I built that are the same are going to replace these 2 gates here. So one's going to get mounted this way, 1 there, and they're both going to come out. So that determines our hinge orientation. And then over here, they have to pound another post, and we're gonna mount another one, I believe, to this post. I'm just welding all the hinges on and getting everything good to go, and the contractor decided he wants to install. So less work for me, it works out. But yeah, they need these hinges to pivot outward so that the cook can come out of the kitchen straight into that room without having to walk around. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get some of these plates prepped, some of these hinges welded on, and get everything good to go. So everyone has different ways of building their plates for these. I generally just pick up some 3x8 flat, because that's a 4x4 post. Square is never perfect, so generally it's better to go with a smaller size. And then we go ahead and take a measurement of this. Let's put it with one hand. The weldable part is about 2.5 inches, so that is this fin here. If you can see that, that's your weldable side. So that's 2.5 inches, so that means I'm going to make mine 3.5, and I can center it off and have a 1/2 inch on each side. Some people like to make their plates the entire length of it, make it look like the hinge is centered on the plate. It's personal preference. When you're setting your gates, make sure that your male side is on the bottom for 2 of them. There's a couple ways to do it. When you're doing these gates that we're doing, you want your male on the bottom. I'm doing 3 hinges per, so bottom, middle is going to be on the bottom. The top one is going to be upside down, so the male is going to actually be, yeah, they're all the males are going to be on the fence side. This one's going to be upside down, so you can't take the gate off. Some people want to be able to take the gate off, or if it's fireplace doors, they want to be able to remove them to service them. If you're doing that, then it's really important that you make sure that all of your males are facing up, so then they can slide the gate off. And then make sure your female side, both of them are welded to the door. You can weld the male to the door or the female to the door. I like welding the male to the wall. It just makes it, I don't know, it seems stronger in my mind. There's no need for this whole shaft to be on your door. It's just easier if you just have the female side on the door, in my mind. This is the best sound in the world right here. Starting that generator up and hearing some dollar bills coming out. Yeah. So here's what I'm working with. I got my pipe stand out, saw on the table. Pretty simple, it works all right. And I'll just slide it through, measure it, cut it, slide it through, measure it, cut it. Another good trick for when you're cutting a bunch of pieces that are all the same, is you can put a piece out here on the end and have it measured out, so that every time you run this piece up to that, say I have that mounted there, I run my piece up to it, your cut will be the, you know, the blade, from the end of your blade to the piece, that's your measurement on the inside, so it'll say 3.5. If I just mount that there, I can run it out to there, cut it, run it out to there, cut it, run it out to there, cut it. It's a little trick for repetition. I'm only cutting 9 of these, so it's not a big of a deal, but if I had to cut 20 of them or something, I'd probably do that. Alright, so I went ahead and I got all my plates marked out and I center punched them. So now I can start drilling them out with a 5/16 drill bit. Fit the screws he wants to use now. Alright, so I got all the holes drilled out on these and cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and take these and weld them to the plates. I have them all laid out, or had them all laid out. So kind of. Anyways, there's 2 males and 1 female per. So the males are going to go like that. The females are going to go like that. Alright, so I just got them all finished up. They're all welded up, ready to go. Orientation is important, because we got to remember flat side needs to be facing out. The other thing too is we got to make sure that our post side has our male on the top and the bottom, and then our female is on the top facing down. And then we did them all. This one's upside down because it's reversed. This one should be a female on top. Yep. Should have a female up here. Yep. So yeah, we're good to go. These are ready for install. Like I said, they will be going in place of those and then one at the end, but they turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna drive on back to Bozeman now after I get packed up. That's all for this video, so tune in next time. Thanks.